Remember when heavy metal ruled our lives? When great albums and great concerts came out every month?
Yeah, the 80s.
Well, it's time to look back at those days, so take out your old vinyl
And cassettes.
put on your denim jacket.
And raise your fist in the air.
It's time for the 80s Metal Hang, a classic heavy metal podcast.
Oh, yeah.
This week, Van Halen jumps into a new year. Judas Priest defends the faith. Anthrax serves up their first fistful, while Whitesnake takes it slow and easy. All of this plus Steve Vai and Bon Jovi. As the 80s Metal Hang reaches into the memory hole, does double the thinking, and gives our independent thoughts on the metal truth of January 1984.
Oh, yeah. The memory hole.
So this is like a second season for us almost. I feel like a TV show, like we're in our second season because it's the second year that we're examining.
We've been renewed?
Renewed, yes. We've been given another season.
Inconceivable.
So now it's 1984.
Guess it is, Rob.
Still young men. But we bought a lot of great albums this month back in the day. And the first one was actually titled 1984.
It's pretty appropriate. What a coincidence. That's the same name.
Yes, it is.
You think they planned it?
I think they did. I think whether it was just because of what year it was or if they were trying to reference the book, the famous 1984 book by George Orwell. But the album, iconically, if you remember, had that baby on the front cover.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but I actually remember when I bought it, I remember they had a giant display of records. Remember how they used to do that? They'd have like a cardboard cutout of the cover, and then they'd have a couple of tiers of just records. Like a store would get like 100, 200 records. And it was at a place called TSS Record World.
I used to buy my concert tickets there.
TSS was Times Square stores, right?
Yeah, it was off of Betts Highway.
Yeah, so that was maybe it was a Northeast thing. I don't know if they were around the rest of the country, but I went in and I bought that album. And I don't know. It's obviously a classic.
I thought it was all right.
It was all right?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was definitely, it did really, really well. And it was definitely a departure from the old Van Halen. Dave Lee Roth wasn't crazy about it. He didn't like the directions of the keyboards and stuff. I get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore about the album. Like Craig said, it did sell a lot. I think it's this and Van Halen 1 are the only two of theirs that actually sold 10 million copies.
Yeah, diamond status, right?
Diamond status, yes.
It went gold in just April.
Really. We mentioned that, the previous month, Jump came out, and that's the song that was the definable hit from the album. But they also started making videos. Their videos became iconic, whether it was Jump or Panama or Hot for Teacher. I think because of the oversaturation of those songs and videos, if I listen to this album now, I'm probably only going to listen to the 4 non-singles.
Yeah, we listen to it so much. The funny thing is, this was number 2 on the Billboard 200 for 5 weeks. It was only topped by Michael Jackson's Thriller. And the irony is that record had Eddie Van Halen playing a solo on it.
That's right.
It's
also
weird.
was like more than a year old at this point, but was still, number one. It kept a lot of albums from number one. So the album starts off with a keyboard intro. If you didn't know there was going to be a lot of keyboards, the first minute and a half is all just keyboards on a song, not really a song, but a passage titled 1984. Then goes into Jump, which became a number 1 single. Panama, Top Jimmy, and Drop Dead Legs, so the side 1. What do you think of that side 1?
Side 1 was all right.
I would probably, if I was going to listen to it, and I did listen to it a couple times this week, I would start at Top Jimmy and listen to Top Jimmy and Drop Dead Legs and Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain.
Because that's more like old Van Halen.
Yeah, and there's really a lot of good playing, even though people might think it's their commercial album because of Jump and because of I'll Wait. I mean, Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain, Drop Dead Legs, those are not commercial songs. Those guys are playing on those songs, especially, Eddie, obviously, but also Alex. And Drop Dead Legs, I always laugh when I hear Drop Dead Legs because I took I took drum lessons back, not even in 84, it was probably like 85. And the drum teacher and I were across from each other with drum sets, and he said, I want you to improvise fills. And so every 4 measures, he wanted me to improvise a fill. And I couldn't think of anything. So I just did 2 of the drum fills that are before the verses in Drop Dead Legs. And I thought I was cool when I was young, and my drum teacher was like some old guy. He was probably like 30, you know? And he just stopped me. And he said, why are you doing the drum fills from Drop Dead Legs? I told you to come up with your own.
Oh, man.
So now, 40 years later, when I hear Drop Dead Legs, I still think of him catching me, basically cheating, and trying to pass off the fills from Drop Dead Legs as my own.
I feel like that now today. I see these kids playing guitar in Guitar Center, and like if I pick up a guitar, they're gonna be like, "What does this old guy know?"
Right, exactly.
Little does he know.
And you know, probably the reason I was doing the Drop Dead Legs fills is because I couldn't play the drums for the next song on the album, which is Hot for Teacher, which even today in 2026, there is still debate about how to play it, what the sounds actually are, real drums, Simmons electronic drum pads. You know, there's so much debate about it. There's even an urban legend that they recorded an exhaust pipe of a car. And that's the beginning.
It sounds like an engine.
But there actually is a stick click in the very beginning, which has always driven me nuts. So a lot of people use that as proof that it's actually Alex playing quickly on an electronic pad, that they ended up, you know, dubbing double bass underneath, whether it was electronic or acoustic is also debated. But I mean, this year, even this month, there's new videos on YouTube of people trying to dissect the mystery behind the Hot for Teacher intro.
Is that hard to play?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Alex was great, and then this was an example of it. There's no really good video of him actually ever playing it on the '84 tour, and then they didn't play it a lot at all during the Sammy Hagar years. And then when it came back, he kind of like lessened the intro a little bit. But, you know, that double bass shuffle he kind of got from some older drummers like Billy Cobham in the 70s. But still, it's a crazy, crazy song.
And I'm telling you, that solo in Panama. Oh, wait, what am I saying? Panama. Hot for Teacher. Unbelievable. It's just great. It's a great solo. That's all I'm going to say. It's Eddie, so I mean, what do you expect?
And he plays it while walking on a series of library tables in a high school in the video.
That was from the studio recording. They're like, Eddie, you need to walk on tables.
And that's how they recorded it that way, yes.
And that's when Warren DeMartini did the same thing in Rat. They're like, you got to fall onto a table.
Through a ceiling onto a table. That's right. That's two great solos, though, played on top of tables in videos.
There's something going on.
Something going on there. That might be a special episode.
Maybe that's what I'm missing all these years.
After Hot for Teacher, things quieted down a little bit for another poppy sort of ballad called I'll Wait.
I wasn't crazy about that one.
Reached number 13, didn't go to number 1 like Jump, but something that came out about that, I don't think I knew about it until maybe 10 years ago with some of the books that have come out. Ted Templeman, the producer, has a book. Their manager, Noel Monk, has a book that we've mentioned before. But I'll Wait, they could not come up with the lyrics or the title or the melody.
Oh, right.
Ted Templeman, because he was the producer of the Dewey Brothers in the 70s, he put David Lee Roth together with Michael McDonald. And Michael McDonald co-wrote I'll Wait, at least the melody and the lyrics, and never didn't give him credit on the album.
They do now, don't they?
So they do now, but if you look back at your record, even your CD when it came out, in the late 80s, 90s, he was not on there, but he is on there now. And Ted Templeman in his book talks about Michael McDonald calling him when the album came out. I can't believe you guys didn't give me credit. They actually did the work in an office at Warner Brothers Studios. They actually put David Lee Roth and Michael McDonald in like a corporate office, like a conference room, for them to finish I'll Wait.
And on the flip side is Michael Anthony. He is on the credits,
right?
But now he's not.
And that's a big thing also where
it's pretty crappy.
Yeah, they split everything 4 ways. And then, listen, if behind the scenes they start to take royalties away, they wouldn't be the first band. But if you read up on it, they humiliated them. They took great pride, and Eddie did, in sort of ripping Michael Anthony in interviews.
And they took away the back credits from Jump. I mean, that's huge, man. It's not like just take your credits away from an album. That Jump was a huge song. Still is a huge song.
Yeah.
That's not right.
So, yeah. So 1984, basically from after 1984, Michael Anthony was just a hired gun, basically. Then the album concludes with Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain. Girl Gone Bad is probably my favorite song on this album. I just love the intro, the way it kicks in, the riffing that Eddie does, never mind the solos. Some of the verse riffs are just, his rhythm playing is amazing.
Yeah, I always said Eddie, his solos are great, but his rhythm playing is just, it's incredible. He doesn't really play on the beat. He's like floats all around it. His playing is more about feel than any specific type of rote chord structure, which is much different than so many guitar players. He's hard to play.
That's why Eddie is who he is, and that's why this album, I mean, you get something different out of it. If you go into, like, I've heard you and other guitar player friends of ours talk about the rhythm, so now I find myself, when I'm going to listen to a Van Halen song, to try to like listen behind the vocals, the verse vocals, and just listen to and you could find isolated guitar tracks on YouTube, and you just hear how it's not just some straight, like you said, straight repetitive 4-measure riff that just goes over and over again. It's just like a feel thing, kind of a loose playing.
I always say, like, almost anyone can play Eddie Van Halen riffs and songs, but can you play it right? Can you play it with the feel? No, it's hard.
It's hard. And unfortunately, one of the reasons there's so much lore about this album, why it's talked about so much, is that for the longest time, it was the last album they did with David Lee Roth. They did another album in 2012, but this was like the end of the original 4 Van Halen guys, the run of 6 albums. Ending with this, they went on a 1984 tour, which neither of us were lucky enough to see. So I love looking for videos of that concert. There's some great videos on YouTube, one in Montreal. There's one performance from Europe when they're actually on the Monsters of Rock tour, opening for AC/DC, if you can imagine.
Opening
for AC/DC at the Monsters of Rock in 1984. But yeah.
The cool thing about this, too, is this is the first one recorded in Eddie's actual studio.
Right.
5150 Studios. And you know what 5150 is, right?
It's some mental something?
Yeah, it's a California law code for involuntary psychiatric commitment.
So we have a 5150 on our hands, is what they would say?
I think so, yeah. I've never had that called on me yet.
This time.
So that's pretty cool. And he actually did most of the record in private, for an understand, or not in private, but hid it from Templeton and Roth, because he's like, I'm doing this record, and you're not interrupting.
Yeah, so he and Don Landy would just stay up all night for days and days and just record. He wasn't beholden to a studio schedule. He didn't have to go to some other place.
He didn't have any rules to follow.
Or there might have been a band in the other studio and, distractions. And then, he and Don Landy got crazy. At one point, Ted Templeman in his book tells the story that he couldn't get the master tapes from them, that he went to get them from Eddie, and Eddie said Don had them, and Don couldn't be found. And like eventually they had doubled most of the tracks, like a safety copy, and that was going to become the album if in another day Eddie and Don Landy didn't give them up. But
didn't they sue something where, maybe I read it wrong, Alex recorded his drum tracks and they had to do his cymbal tracks second time because the studio was too small to have the cymbals or something?
I don't know. For such a big band, such a big album, there's so much mystery about it. There's pictures from 5150 was a little drum set in a corner that's mostly electronic, and everyone is like, is that what he recorded the whole album on? And, they were like mad scientists with a new laboratory, and they were just trying all kinds of different things. Why there wasn't room enough they should have had room enough for Alex's whole 4 bass drum set in there. But it was the time of things going electronic, I guess.
And Dave was not happy. Apparently, like Eddie had this written for a while, and Dave did not want to write lyrics to it.
Jump you're talking about?
Yeah. Because you know how Roth is. He's more of a rocking type of guy. He's like Soupy Sales now, but and Eddie was going keyboards, and it was just divergent paths, as they say.
Divergent paths.
Yes.
But do yourself a favor. Spin 1984 this week. Even if you skip Jump or I'll Wait, the rest of it is right up there with some of the heavier tracks from earlier albums. And unfortunately, by the end of the year, 1984, David Lee Roth was doing some cover album, solo EP, singing about, I'm just a gigolo and all that stuff. And then, he goes solo, which is interesting because this same month, a guitar player that's very familiar to the Van Halen world came out with his first solo album. And that guitar player was Steve Vai.
That guy's an alien, for real.
And he came out with the Flexible. There's a later version of Flexible that everyone thinks might be when it first came out. But in January of 1984, Steve Vai, by the way, a Long Island guy from Carl Place, came out with his first solo album, Flexible.
Yes, he did. And this was after his stint with Frank Zappa. I mean, he played with Frank Zappa, which is a feat to behold to begin with. Before that, he had a job transcribing Zappa's music.
Was he?
He was 18 when he.
I know. I think Zappa did give him a job, but I think he started sending them.
He did.
Just as a student at Berkeley.
He sent them.
Berkeley in Boston.
He transcribed note for note Frank Zappa's Black Page. The reason it's called Black Page is because there's so many notes on that page that it looks like almost like a black page. And this 18-year-old kid sends him this, and Zappa's like, "What?
What am I looking at here?" So his you called him an alien. His whatever you want to call it, his genius, his mastery of music, brought him to Frank Zappa's attention. Played with Frank Zappa, transcribed for Frank Zappa. Then he goes to Alcatraz for a year, maybe, right?
Even when he went to Whitesnake, it was like, what? It's like, it's a paycheck, so I get it, but...
Yeah, well, Whitesnake, those days, I think he got $1 million for the album and $1 million for the tour.
And you could hear Zappa's influence on this record, big time.
Whitesnakes?
No.
I know, I'm just kidding. Flexible, yeah, because it's not really a shredding album. It's not like an album. It's like
wacky.
It's wacky, like Little Green Men and those kinds of songs. And
I'm going to say most people are not going to get it because it is weird, but I love it.
Like Eddie, he had a home studio, so I think he just took his time, brought in a lot of friends. The credits of players on it, it's a long list.
Yeah.
I think his wife does some vocals on it.
It was Stucco Blue Studios, which was actually a shed in his backyard. So
made of stucco and painted blue, maybe?
I'm assuming so.
So, the Attitude song, that was another song that I recognized, probably from all you guitar player friends playing it around me all the time. Stu Hamm, he's a famous bass player. I noticed that he played on here. He would play with Vi for a while. He played with Satriani also. And this drummer, Chris Frazier, played in a couple of songs. Who's actually now in whatever version of Foreigner.
Stu Hamm is great.
Yeah.
I saw him play with Satriani at Sundance.
Oh, yeah?
Satriani was great, but I couldn't take my eyes off Stu Hamm. It was just flooring me. I've never heard someone do that on bass.
Yeah, he's still playing.
That guy's all right.
Yeah, he's all right. I mean, I think like if I hear anyone ever play with Steve Vai or play with Satriani or play with Zappa for that matter, you know that they're incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's some guys who are in other bands that play pretty straight, like this guy Chris Frazier, but he's on the Vai albums, and he's like some drummers, they get into gigs or bass players where they're not showing their maximum abilities. And then when they go with someone like Zappa or...
It pushes them over the edge.
And you go, whoa, this guy is insane. This bass player, Stu Hamm, is insane.
Have you ever seen that video on YouTube? It's Steve Vai talking about his Berkeley days and how he auditioned for Frank Zappa.
No.
He talks about his audition with Frank Zappa, and it's eye-opening.
Oh, really? Is this like a film 30, 40 years ago? Or is it more recently talking about it?
It's not when he was in Zappa or in Berkeley. It was after he made it as Vai. So I don't know, last couple 10, 20 years. I don't know.
I thought maybe it was like when he first got into Zappa, he was talking as a Berkeley student.
But yeah, this record is really, to me, it's really cool. And the newer releases have what's called flexible leftovers. I had that as a kid. I had both records.
Yeah, 88, I think it came out with a reissue.
And if you want to know what I mean when I say it's really kooky, you got to listen. If you listen to the song So Happy, yeah. Little Green Men. Then the Salamanders in the Sun, which is great. I love the song Junkie. I just love the lyrics and the feel. Like he does this weird, crazy solo that it reminds me of like someone probably going on a trip, a heroin trip. I love it. I don't know. And as a guitar player, it really influenced me because it showed you how to do things that you wouldn't think to do or things that you shouldn't do, how to color outside the lines. And some of the stuff he did wasn't hard. It was, you never thought to do it.
Yeah.
Not that he couldn't play anything hard. He was amazing, but some of his stuff would just be like, he would do this little thing and you're like, how the hell do you think to do that? It's just
creative minds.
He and Randy Rhoads are my two top guitar players of all time.
So that is obviously Craig's stamp of approval to go and listen to Steve Vai's the flexible reissue and the flexible leftovers.
And don't get mad if it freaks you out because like I said, it's loopy.
But it's good when music freaks you out. That means your mind is being expanded.
Ooh, a helium balloon of metal?
Helium balloon of metal. And someone who definitely took in that helium of heavy metal is Rob Halford of Judas Priest.
He sounds like he inhaled helium sometimes, the way he sings.
Yes, and Judas Priest, the same month, came out with Defenders of the Faith on January 13th, 1984, the follow-up to Screaming for Vengeance. We know this album very well.
We do, because this was, we saw them in concert.
March 21st, 1984.
And this was the concert where we were scared, because it was the time when everyone was throwing fireworks and M80s and people were getting blown up, supposedly. And
yes. Yeah. And we'll save this for a future episode because I want to figure this out. And I don't know if I've even asked you about this yet, but we can't really play music on here without getting copyright blocked or whatever. But there's a audio bootleg of the concert we went to in March of 84 of Judas Priest. And when the lights go out,
showed me that.
Yeah, so we have to figure out a way. I want us on a future podcast episode to get the audio so people can hear what it sounded like when the lights went out.
It was
before
bad.
They opened up with Love Bites, which starts side 2 of Defenders of the Faith. But before Love Bites even starts, when the lights go out, the crowd roars, and all you hear are just explosions and firecrackers, and it sounds like mayhem. So I want to figure out a way for us to play that on a future episode.
Yeah, it was. I mean, people were literally bringing and throwing blockbusters and M80s and legit like Roman candles. And at one point, remember, we were with our Greek friend George.
Yes.
And I still don't know what it was, but something landed at our feet. We thought it was like, it's got to be some type of explosive. We were all scared. I think we jumped away from it.
Yes.
It could have been a cigarette. I don't know. But
no, it was like jumping jacks or something. We thought it was going to be a big explosion.
Yeah, we were scared. Plus, we were 14. So
yeah, not even. Yeah, you probably just about. Yeah,
I was going to be in 3 months in March. I would have been.
Yeah. So this is Judas Priest, following up, like I said, Screaming for Vengeance, which was a huge album for them. This album also went platinum. Had the same producer as all the 80s Judas Priest albums, Tom Allom, and they used the same studio that they used for Screaming for Vengeance. But this album has, Free Will Burnin' and Rock Hard Ride Free and Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. We mentioned Love Bites, the Sentinel. I love the Sentinel.
Yes.
And they played almost the whole album on that tour. So we got to see all these songs live. You can't go wrong with 82 to 84 Priest or Maiden. You have all these great albums, including Screaming and Defenders. They had the cool cover, which was kind of painted similarly.
The Metallion is on there.
Yeah, Metallion. The Hellion was on the previous album cover. Doug Johnson was the cover artist.
Same guy.
So yeah, I mean, the songs, we just mentioned a bunch of them. They actually had another one. That song, Some Heads Are Gonna Roll, was actually an outside songwriter. This guy, Bob Halligan Jr.
Really?
And I always wondered who he was. He actually also wrote Take These Chains off Screaming for Vengeance. So I looked him up, and he actually wrote a lot of songs. He wrote a lot of songs with Kicks, including that Don't Close Your Eyes song that they had a big hit with. He himself played in some like Christian rock band. And he actually came back and wrote a song called The Lodger on Judas Priest's most recent album, Invincible Shield.
Why would Priest need someone to come in?
Know. They didn't really need it. I guess they just liked the song. And because they Take These Chains, they said, what else do you have? And he had Some Heads Are Gonna Roll.
Oh, man. Should have had Mike McDonald come in, too.
Yeah. But, they always, famously, the previous tour, they opened with Electric Eye, which is just such a kicking song right from the beginning. And this one was the Love Bites that we mentioned. But there was such a cool intro, just that dong.
Yeah.
Dong, dong. I remember just being so psyched at this concert.
That was our opening song, right?
Yes, they opened up with Love Bites. Yeah,
the big Metallion foot came up and came out.
He came out of the foot, and the other guys were standing up on the two sides of the character, the Metallion from the album cover. Do you remember what happened when we were coming home from that concert? We were being driven by my parents, and it's my cousin, it's our friend George, you and me, and we go into my cousin's neighborhood. Do you remember what we saw?
Some kid was standing on the development sign playing air guitar.
Where my cousin lived, there was like this, like we go into a development and there was this brick that just said the name of the development. And we were like, look at this kid. And he was like on top, shirtless, just playing air guitar. It's like 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday.
Just random kid playing.
And we rolled our windows down and he was playing Judas Priest and just air guitaring on top of the bricks in front of his house. And I don't know if he went to the concert, just came home, didn't go to the concert, so he was putting on his own concert. But we were just like, well, look at that kid.
He was probably cool. We should have hooked up.
We should have asked him. We should have hung out with him. And now 42 years later, where is he?
He could have been one of those guys we got in a band, and it would have like when Metallica got Cliff.
Yeah,
he could have pushed us really up.
He could have. He obviously had the confidence to stand, in front of a whole neighborhood and play air guitar.
That's
so
right.
Who knows what he would have been on the stage?
Yes. And this record also had "Eat Me Alive," which was another song that got in trouble with the PMRC.
That's right. It's the only song they didn't play live off this album, coincidentally. I think coincidentally. But we actually also, I just look up all these facts, and I don't know why it matters, but we saw their 4th American show on the tour.
Really?
They had just started it 5 days earlier in Niagara Falls, and we saw them, like I said, March 21st in Nassau Coliseum. And then later in June of 84 on the same tour, they famously got banned from Madison Square Garden forever because the crowd tore all the seats and threw all the seat cushions. And there's pictures online where you see a pile of seat cushions on the floor. And then I don't think they've ever played there since.
I remember that. I distinctly remember listening to Metal Shop, as I always did every Sunday night, and Fingers talking about that. I was like, holy crap. Because at that age, I'm like, what did that even look like? That's really, it's a big deal when you're that age because it's so out of, I don't know, out of my thought range. I'm like, what is that?
To be 14 and be part of a riot, basically, makes quite an impression. But that was 1984 of Judas Priest with the fantastic Defenders of the Faith album. That's one that I've loved forever and will love forever.
So go out right now. Actually, after you listen to this, and listen to Free Wheel Burning.
Yes. And well, actually, if you're in the car right now listening to this, don't put on Free Wheel Burning because it'll make you drive way too fast.
It will.
But if you are driving fast, go right to your local record store and buy a copy go to your TSS Record World and buy a copy of 1984 and Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith.
I think Sam Goody has it on sale, too.
Sam Goody has it on sale. Yeah. Remember The Wall? That was another place, The Wall record stores.
What was it?
There was one like in Sunbed Mall. We're talking to inside now.
Yeah.
Sam Goody.
in the mall.
In the mall. Whitesnake.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add to that. Whitesnake, slide it in.
What does that mean?
He likes the double entendres.
He sure does.
This is Whitesnake's, I think, 6th album. A couple of albums were like David Coverdale's Whitesnake, almost like solo albums. But this was probably the first Whitesnake I ever heard. I didn't know who he was at this age. I didn't know he used to be in Deep Purple at this age. But this album has all kinds of weird history to it.
It really does.
There's a UK version. There's a US version. The original version had different members. At the time, Whitesnake had 2 guitar players, Mel Galley and Mickey Moody. John Sykes joined later and overdubbed guitar over their parts.
Yeah, I think he re-recorded the guitar for not all the songs, but a few.
Right.
And on both releases, America and Europe, the songs, the orders changed for some strange reason.
Right now, if you go on a streaming service, a lot of them have the US and the UK mix, and they are pretty different.
Yeah.
The album was originally going to be produced by Eddie Kramer, but then they brought in the famous Martin Birch back. Mm-hmm. He mixed it for the UK, and then when they wanted to do a US mix, that's when John Sykes started redoing some of the guitar, and Keith Olsen did the US mix. And if you listen, there's a lot less keyboards.
And it's more
on the US.
It has more energy, too.
Yeah, so I guess so. The one that we heard, obviously, growing up was the U.S. mix. I remember hearing it on cassette. I actually like this album, Cozy Powell on the drums, and then there's 2 different bass players on it, I guess, depending what mix you listen to, Colin Hodgkins and Neil Murray. But John Lord even originally played the keyboards because, Whitesnake and Deep Purple, crossed over a lot of members.
And when they got rid of the original guitar player, they actually asked Michael Schenker and Adrian Vandenberg to join the band. They're like, nope.
Oh, yeah, Vandenberg kind of had his own thing going on back then, I guess.
And Sykes didn't want to be in it either. He was still hanging out with Thin Lizzy, and he's like, no way, I'm still with Phil. But he made up a number that he knew they wouldn't match, and they matched it. So he's like, all right.
It obviously got more successful with the 87 album, but this was him trying to, get into the U.S. market. They were big in Europe, but David Coverdale, just really wanted to get into the U.S. market with the videos, with the John Sykes blonde guitar player. But the album reached number 40. It didn't go platinum until after the 87 album became popular. It was double platinum by 92. But has a lot of those memorable songs, whether it's Love Ain't No Stranger, Slow and Easy. I like, was it Guilty of Love is on there, Standing in the Shadows. other songs with love in the title.
And speaking of that, I was listening to it this week, and I don't know why, but after a while, I started saying, this guy sings about love a lot. So for a goof, I got home and I'm like, let me see. I type it in and I found out he says love 119 times on this record.
Really?
I thought it was me. I'm like, am I hearing things? But yeah, that's it.
Siri, how many times does David Coverdale say the word love? Is that what you did?
I did chat GPT.
Actually, our phones are here. I was wondering if Siri was actually going to answer me.
I could try it.
You think Siri knows that?
I don't know. Let's see. Hey, Siri. How many times does David Coverdale say love on his record, Slide It In? Oh, so you can search the web, try chat GPT. She doesn't know.
Oh, Siri. Siri obviously isn't a fan of British hard rock and heavy metal. Come on, Siri.
I'm switching to Alexa.
So that is Whitesnake's Slide It In. A good record. And in a lot of ways, regardless of mix, sounds better and more classic rock than the 87 album, which is kind of dated sounding, at least to me.
Yeah.
Something else is probably dated sounding, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but a young man by the name of John Bon Jovi came out with his self-titled solo album, or first album, I should say, in January also. I don't really know much about it, but his story is interesting. I think everybody's heard it. He gave Runaway to a demo of it to a local radio station. You remember WAPP?
Yeah.
They had like this big advertising blitz when we were kids. They were commercial free for like the first 6 months or something that they were around. They were 103.5 in New York City, but that got him a record deal. So he came out with this album with the band that was his famous band for all the 80s and 90s. Has the song Runaway, but
didn't he have studio musicians on this record?
The song Runaway doesn't have any of the guys from his band. It actually had Roy Bittan from Bruce Springsteen. Aldo Nova played on some of it. He had a guy named Frankie the Rocker and Tim Pierce.
Frankie the Rocker?
La Rocker.
They said The Rocker.
And then, believe it or not, on one song, they credit percussion to Chuck Berge. Do you know that name?
Chuck Berge. It rings a bell.
He came up twice in our 83 episodes because he played on Aldo Nova's solo album, and he played on Bent Out of Shape by Rainbow, and he's currently in Billy Joel's band. The only interesting thing I saw in the Bon Jovi history is when they got signed, even before this album came out, they got an opening slot, opening for ZZ Top.
Yes, that's a weird combo.
But like they made maybe 2 or 3 club shows. So the band with Richie Sambora and Tico Torres and all that, their first 2, well, not the first 2 shows, but they did 2 shows opening for ZZ Top at Madison Square Garden. So they're a brand new band. The first album hasn't come out yet, and they go out and play Madison Square Garden as an opener in September of '83.
I saw them play with Rat, opening for Rat.
We were together.
Invasion of Your Privacy show.
Yeah,
that's when me and Wave were up front, and I swear we both had the Rat tour shirts we just bought. And Stephen Pierce, he looks at us. He's like, "Hey, dude, I got that shirt." And we were just like, "Oh!"
Stephen Pierce, he knows us. He knows we're cool.
We were like girls at a Beatles show.
When Bon Jovi opened up for ZZ Top at MSG, I don't know why I like these little tidbits. But you know what the next show at Madison Square Garden was? Right after Bon Jovi and ZZ Top?
Fastway? Wasted?
Close. Quite Right, opening for Iron Maiden.
Whoa.
So Iron Maiden was a garden headliner while Bon Jovi was still an unknown opener. Weird.
What I was saying was weird too, with Bon Jovi opening for Rat.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
what the hell?
Yeah, I wonder if it ever... No, I don't think he ever had Rat open for him, but he kind of distanced himself from all those bands, but it would have been funny to see Rat open for Bon Jovi later on.
Yeah, because we're talking about Bon Jovi here. You could say he's not metal, but metal, if you look at the periodic table of elements, there are different strengths of metal. He's more like, he's aluminum maybe, but it's still metal.
He's more tinfoil.
Yeah, tinfoil, tin maybe.
Well, I think the only reason his name is going to come up is his impact on metal, for better or worse, is a real thing.
That was Skid Row.
But not only that, but the use of keyboards and the more poppy elements, he made other bands get lighter, for better or worse, usually worse. Yeah. But keyboards started appearing in bands that never had keyboards, and ballads started appearing in bands that never had ballads because of Jovi. But we'll leave him back in 1984 for now, because in New York, where he was opening for ZZ Top, there was a new band who was forming and coming out with their first album.
Oh man, it smashed right through my face with a fistful of metal.
It punched right through the back of your skull until it came out your mouth with a spiked wristband on.
I mean, I'm a soldier of metal as much as the next guy, but this album just had me metal thrashing head.
And the band that we're making all these puns about is Anthrax.
The one and only.
Fistful of Metal comes out on the very important Megaforce Records at that time for heavy metal.
The legendary John Zazula.
Yes, and so this is Anthrax's first album, and it was recorded upstate in Ithaca. It was produced by Carl Kennedy, who is the Rod's drummer and also an engineer and producer. And the band was a little bit different than the band you may have known. The album had the singer Neil Turbin and the bass player Dan Lilker.
Yeah, Loco is kind of legendary. I mean, he's been in so many bands. He was
Nuclear Assault, right?
Nuclear Assault, Stormtroopers of Death.
Right.
And he's been spinning around. He's just one of those guys that he's everywhere. It's weird.
Yeah, and actually, I think I should...
He's tall.
Yeah, he's tall. And also, I think he did one show with Anthrax within the last couple of years that for some reason Frank Bello couldn't make or something, or was a last-minute thing. And I'm almost certain he played a show within the last few years with them. So it's nice to see that he stayed friends with Bello, Benante, Ian, and Dan Spitz was in the band at the time.
And originally, Lilker, people call him Dan Lilker. I don't know how you pronounce it. So I'm just going to say Lilker.
Lilker.
Yeah, I know, but I hear people say whatever. I'm going to say Lilker.
Lilker.
He originally played guitar for them.
Oh, yeah?
And they couldn't find a bass player, so he switched to bass.
It's like Paul McCartney.
It's kind of like, it's understandable. Remember back in the day, like, you couldn't find a bass player.
Yeah.
No matter how many hand-drawn ads you hung up in how many music stores, you could not find bass players.
Yeah, I think a lot of people start at guitar and they don't want to commit to bass just yet, you know. Everyone thinks they're going to be the next Eddie. They don't want to, you know, necessarily dream of being the next Ian Hill.
And again, back then, bass players weren't really romanticized as much as they are now. I mean, look at Frank Bello when he came in.
Yeah.
He was up there.
Yeah, Frank Bello, he was super young. He was Charlie's nephew, actually. The band still obviously has that core of Scott, Ian, Charlie Benante, and Frank Bello. Neil Turbin did not work out. His vocals, we listened to the album. I don't know if it's because I got used to Joey Belladonna later on, but his vocals...
They're not good.
Yeah, they seemed dated. I think if he stayed around, they wouldn't have maybe separated themselves from some of the other metal bands like they did with Belladonna's voice.
It was incredibly cliche in how he sang. It was very, very predictable when he would do a high scream. It was almost after like every other measure,
right.
Like da 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 da. And it was after a while, it was just like, it's going to be a scream here, and there was a scream there. It got old quick.
Howling Furies. He was howling all right, but and the lyrics on the album, I mean, their lyrics became a little more maybe socially conscious based on horror movies and things when Scott Ian took over the lyrics. But back then, they had Metal Thrash and Mad, Soldiers of Metal. They did a cover of Alice Cooper's I'm 18.
Yeah, that wasn't bad, though.
True Iron Maiden fashion, they did a song called Anthrax.
Yes.
They didn't call the album Anthrax, but if you remember, Iron Maiden had a song called Iron Maiden on the album Iron Maiden. But, it did serve its purpose as a first album. They replaced Neil Turbin with Joey Belladonna. They came out with the Armed and Dangerous EP, and then the albums Spreading the Disease, Among the Living, State of Euphoria, Persistence of Time. They're probably a top 3 band for me for that stretch. Like Spreading the Disease, one of my favorite albums. I saw them a bunch of times. I saw them open up for Iron Maiden. I saw them, open up for Ozzy. I saw them headlining all around New York. So love me some Anthrax.
For anyone out there that hasn't heard this record, this isn't the same Anthrax as you probably used to. It's much different. It's not necessarily bad. The vocals, I'm not crazy about. It's more, what would you say, more punkish or more loose? Or
yeah, it's a little punkish. It's a little like Anthrax. I think to me at least became very tight. As years went on, the drums are tight, the guitars are tight, and
there was no chugging really.
Right, and after this, Charlie Benante basically, and I didn't know this probably for a couple more albums that Charlie Benante wrote the music. That he was a guitar player, he wrote all the guitar riffs.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
Scott Ian took over writing most of the lyrics. So I think that is the Anthrax sound that we're familiar with because of those two guys taking more control, maybe. Even like Dan Spitz wouldn't even play on the albums in the future. He would just do the soloing and things, that all the rhythms would be done by Scott.
And
I don't even know if Charlie ever recorded guitar. He probably did.
And Spitz did the solos on this, right? If I remember,
yeah.
he was on this. Okay, his guitar playing on this is really good. I like it better than some of his later stuff.
Yeah, and now he's fixing watches or something.
Yeah,
he's like a watch expert.
Gave up metal,
high-end watches. So that's Anthrax Fistful of Metal. And that's quite a month with Van Halen and Steve Vai, who, would be with David Lee Roth in a year. And we have Whitesnake, Bon Jovi, and Anthrax. It's a pretty full month.
As we're going to see as we go on, a lot of these months are pretty full. This is like a big year.
84, is just as important, just as big as 1983. So...
yeah, the metal is really sliding it in.
Yes, it is.
All right, so you want to do the old random question thing?
Sure.
Who wants to have some fun?
So, of all the people we've mentioned, you mentioned to me once about who I wanted to take a road trip with. So I was curious, what rock star would you most like to have dinner with one-on-one? Who would you like? Heavy metal person that we have covered in our discussions.
We haven't mentioned Lee Aaron yet, so that's out. What I'd like to have dinner with? Like
a real conversation with, not a fanboy situation. Someone you think would be an interesting discussion.
That's tough. I might say Ronnie James Dio. He seems like he'd give me an actual intelligent conversation.
Okay.
Maybe Dee Snider.
Okay.
I think between those two.
All right. Well, since one of them's alive, you could choose.
I could still try.
We could still try to get Dee Snider here.
Or maybe I could have King Diamond summon the spirit of Ronnie James Dio.
There you go. You can have that. You can have he can be invited to the dinner too. You could have all three of them. Oh. All right. Table for four: Craig, Dee, Ronnie, and King.
Oh, God. Can you imagine that? Who would pay the bill?
King would have the highest pitched voice. I think Ronnie would have the softest voice, and Dee would be the loudest at the table, no doubt. What kind of food do you think he'd get?
Dee?
Well, you, just in general, like what restaurant would you pick? Like, what would it be? Would it be Italian? Would it be?
Probably some standard American fare.
Okay. Steaks all around.
Steaks, burgers.
King Diamond will take his raw.
Yeah. I don't know what King Diamond would eat.
I don't know.
I mean, what type of food is evil?
I don't know. Maybe just get a Danish.
All right, so
you probably have a better one for me. Go ahead.
Last episode, we spoke of people that we've lost. So of everyone that we mentioned last episode, who would you choose to actually come to a physical metal hang that we have? Like, who would be fun to have and all that stuff?
Who would be fun to bring,
or just all around good
to bring back? Jeez,
like he's not going to get drunk and throw up on your steps. Someone cool.
I don't know if we mentioned him. I mean, Neil Peart would be someone. Eddie would be someone. Neither of them had an album out in '83, so I don't know if we even mentioned them. Who else? Let's see. There's a lot of interesting people. I mean, it's fun people. They might be fun for the wrong reasons. But how about, well, to have the most fun, I think I would have Dimebag and Vinny from Pantera. And I'm going to have both of them come. You told me to choose one, but since they're brothers, I'm going to take a 2-for-1 deal.
Okay.
And I'm going to have Vinny Paul and Dimebag Darrell here, because not only would they be a lot of fun, we probably wouldn't be able to walk after they were done serving us drinks like they famously used to do, but also, and this will come up when we talk about Pantera in the future, they were such proud metal fans that it would drive me crazy in the 90s when every band claimed to never listen to heavy metal. And you'd hear these grunge bands with tuned down guitars saying they never listened to Black Sabbath or make fun of Kiss or make fun of Iron Maiden or make fun of Judas Priest. And then Pantera came out, and in every interview, they were like, we like Priest, we like Maiden, we like early Van Halen. So they would be great hosts. They'd be great guests. They'd be great partiers. So I'm going to go with the Abbott brothers.
Very nice. Good choice.
So that is random questions for this week.
Dun, dun, dun.
So be sure to check us out on
the 80s Metal Hang.
Just as we start our second season, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of sites, people, and other podcasts that we've come in touch with. Number one, there's a podcast about 80s television called Don't Touch That Dial. That's it's three co-hosts. One of them, Keith Loria, is a classmate of Craig and I, graduated from the same high school the same year. And he just has two friends of his that he met later in life through work. And the three of them, these three friends, they just talk all about 80s television. So they'll talk about Happy Days. They just had an episode talking about comparing the Flintstones and the Jetsons. So they talk about 70s and 80s TV. And it actually inspired me to reach out to Craig and say, you know, this guy Keith from high school, he's got this podcast where they talk about old TV, and he and his two friends seem to have a blast. So we should do that with heavy metal. So
we did.
Shout out to Don't Touch That Dial podcast. If you're into that throwback television, check it out. Also on Instagram and Threads, there's Kerrang! Classic Magazine, Metal Vault, and Old Concert Flyers that are three sites that we've used a lot for our research.
Those are great.
Shout out to them. And then a website, I don't even know who's behind it, but setlist.fm we use for a lot of research. That's where I come up with all the dates of concerts and set lists and tours and things. So check all those sites, podcasts, and social media feeds.
Immediately.
Immediately. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at the 80s Metal Hang.
That's 80S.
Where you can see photos in our weekly episode scrapbook.
We also have a YouTube channel with video playlists that pair with each episode.
And on Spotify, we have playlists highlighting the albums and songs discussed each week.
And please be sure to subscribe and comment wherever you get this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get the papers.